How good can this offense be if they're clicking?
I think we could be really good. We're going to keep quietly moving forward and doing one thing at a time, but consistently getting better. Like I said, we did all the things we did last year in that game, but it looked, again with our ones, it was clean, it was good, it was sharp, our execution was better, and that's the same thing we've been talking about for a long time. So I'm really excited about where we're at and where we're headed.
You are looking live at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and Steelers Training Camp 2023. Where would you rather be than right here, right now? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx. I'm Mike Pursuta, joined by Max Starks. And, Max, we got a lot to talk about relative to Friday night's preseason opening. And, yeah, I know it was the preseason opener, just a preseason game and just the first one at that. But a 27-17 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then this morning, just hours ago here on the campus of St. Vincent College, you heard it, Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, saying, I think we can be really good.
Well, and absolutely. I mean, you have to feel good after you saw that performance because you had the big play. So it's a Sunday theme. I guess we can go with this. A little Hail Marys and Our Fathers, right? I mean, so you saw the Hail Mary type of play. That was a nice long bomb to Calvin Austin. You saw the consistency with Deontay Johnson, big play capability from George Pickens, and Pat Freiermuth doing Pat Freiermuth type things, controlling the middle of the field between the hashes, a nice seam route to get him involved in the game early. Kenny Pickett looked like he was on top of his game, 6 of 7. And the offensive line, solid job protecting Kenny and, creating a couple of run lanes for Jaylen Warren. Najee Harris got a nice little swing pass and everything out to the outside. But I just felt like Kenny Pickett looked in control. And I think for Matt Canada, that gives you a sigh of relief when you're coming into the season. You're scripting all of the offseason, coming into the preseason, looking good at camp. But then to see that execution carry over from this practice field behind us to the actual stadium at Raymond James on Friday night was one of the things where you say, connect the dots, we're still going.
I was thinking as kickoff approached and then after the Steelers got the ball, I recalled our conversation prior to the game where we talked about Mike Tomlin saying he was going to give Kenny Pickett what he needed in the first game. And I said, what do you think that involves, Max? And you said, score a touchdown. Drive them down and score a touchdown. After last year, after you wanted a TD right off the bat, and you got it, and they were pretty good getting to it. Let's take a look specifically at that first touchdown, if we can get that cranked up here. Kenny Pickett to George Pickens, Max, not just a third and long, but yak, and the scoreboard changed. Look at that tight window. Pickens beating press man, and then the in route gets away from the diving cornerback, and then this little outside-inside move on the safety, and see you later. You mentioned a moment ago the stuff they've been practicing out here. I know going all the way back to OTAs, I asked Connor Hayward what were going to be the real points of emphasis for the offense, and I'm expecting to hear yards per game, points per game, the usual suspects. Yeah. And he mentioned those, but he also said yak. We want a lot of yak.
That's right.
They got yak.
Oh, they got plenty of yak in this game, and from the guys you expected to get that. I think that was the other thing, because you got the yak from George Pickens. I think that's what we know, he's big play capable of making the circus grab, but being able to get thrown into a position where he can continue to carry the ball like he did in that last clip. I love the fact that you're running the end. He beats press to the inside to make sure that he can keep the DB wide and to the outside of him as he makes the in cut. Kenny Pickett threads the needle, and then he dodges 3 other defenders on his way to the end zone. That's what you want. And then, of course, for Calvin Austin, right, anytime you have a one-on-one situation, go over the top. You got to go Sylvester Stallone style, right, in the arm wrestling movie where he puts the hand over the finger and crushes guys. That's what you want to see with Calvin Austin. He's a speedster, beat him in the one-on-one situation, had 3 steps on the defender, and catch it in stride as he strolls down into the end zone. And that was a big moment, I think, for Calvin Austin, was when you're thinking about confidence. A year ago, this gets taken away from you before you even put pads on in camp. You had the foot injury. You're rehabbing the whole year. You're watching your team go through a season, and you can't compete. And then now you get to this point a year later, and then you get to turn on the afterburners in live action on Friday Night Football, and he absolutely did his job to a T. And I thought this was fantastic to see that, because when you're thinking about the slot and in those key plays, that's something we want to see as a team, is how much versatility you can have as a player. We also know he's going to be a return type guy. Obviously, he didn't get any of that play, but he got plenty of wide receiver snaps, which I thought was good to get under his belt. Those 2 jet sweeps, as a 17-yarder and a 6-yarder on that. That was nice to see some of the gimmick stuff in there become commonplace, but also be successful in the rush game. So, I mean, overall, Calvin Austin, I mean, our receiving core really did a good job on Friday night.
You know, that Austin play was significant to me for a couple of reasons, not the least of which was they took the deep shot. Now, what I heard last year in the preseason from Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett was, hey, if we have one-on-one outside, we're going to trust our guys. If the receiver beats the corner off the line, we're going deep. If the DB's hanging in there, then we're going to throw back shoulder sideline at a previously agreed upon yardage designation. But that shot is going to be taken. I didn't think they took those shots enough last year. Now, there were a lot of reasons they didn't do that, but this, new year, different maybe a set of parameters that they're going to base whether or not they do that upon. And the first time they tried it, Max, Mitch Trubisky took a shot down the field to Cody White. It got intercepted. They were not as Bill Cowher might put it, they were not deterred.
Yes.
They threw another one, incomplete. They threw another one, 38-yard defensive pass interference, and then they threw another one, and they got the touchdown. Now, I don't know what your feel on this is, but when the quarterback sees one-on-one outside, it's not cover 2, so they don't think the safety can be involved. How often should that shot be taken?
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. You have the personnel to do it, and now you actually get practical application of theory in this game. One-on-one, we're slinging it. And for that one that Mr. Trubisky threw as an interception.
It's a great interception.
It was a great interception. It was a great second effort. Cody White had both hands on the ball initially. It gets tipped up in the air, and it seems like it hung in the air forever. And then McCollum just scoops it in as he's falling to the ground. So
he was able to get it out and then get to it on the –
It was good effort, but once again, don't be scared to let the ball fly in a one-on-one situation. You expect those receivers to win more often than they lost, and we saw that. They did win.
So you had 4 of these. One got picked. One was incomplete, but you also had a 67-yard touchdown and a 38-yard interference.
Yeah.
That's a winning
That's
4
success.
reps, right?
Yeah, exactly. 50% of success, and you got almost 100 yards worth of yardage between those two plays.
Actually, more than 100.
Yeah, a little bit over.
73 and 38. Or
I'm just
67 and 38.
67 and 38. So, you're right at about, 105 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, just smidge over. I mean, I was trying to go general.
Win-win, yeah. So
win-win, especially when you think about
I really
how
liked
tough that was.
And I talked to Mason Rudolph after the game, and he said I was trying to be as aggressive as possible.
Yeah, it paid off.
Talked to Pickett after the game. So that's what we want to do. And it depends on the receiver and the coverage, but if they sense they got to win, they're going to try to win.
19 and 14, definitely. If you have a step, you might as well consider it 5 yards with those two. And then for Deontay's such a technical guy. You can catch things at the top of the route. Deontay's going to make you right because he has such a great sense and feel. And I think what's important is that Kenny had that feel, because the one time Kenny scrambled out to the right when the pocket started to break down, Deontay was unscripted in that situation. He went to make the cut on the comeback and was like, okay, I need to get myself in a position where he can see my numbers and put the ball on me. And Kenny did just that, getting the first down conversion right at the stick. So that's something where you just want to continue to see that grow. And I love the intensity and how engaged Deontay Johnson was in that drive and also in the game on the sidelines, talking to the young receivers.
I love that they threw it to him on first down on purpose.
Yeah.
First play.
Exactly. It's like, hey, D, just to let you know, boom, still wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make sure that we get that little streak with the 0 next to it from last year. Make sure we get one of those in the playbook. It didn't work in this drive because they only had one drive, but I had to feel if we were going a second drive for that starting O-line, you would have seen some more throws to 19 in the red zone.
Speaking of 19, Najee Harris talked about him afterward. You mentioned the jet sweep stuff a moment ago, 2 successful runs, 23 yards on 2 carries, the big play. Najee Harris talked about Calvin Austin III back at mandatory veteran minicamp, and he called him something of a unicorn. And he said he was really, I'm going to paraphrase now, Harris said that Austin was really going to mess with the minds of defensive coordinators, and he was so versatile, and there were so many options with him. It was going to help everybody on the offense. Najee talked about him again after the game in Tampa and mentioned all the things he thinks Austin can do, and he said, I'm so excited. I mean, everybody has been anticipating ever since last year finally getting this guy on the field. Did he just confirm, or is it maybe time to even ramp up the excitement a little more regarding his potential in this offense?
Well, I think you still have to mentally think of him as a rookie because he had 0 plays last year.
He says that's not the case.
But once again, I think for opposing defenses, they're going to consider him a rookie because he hasn't had the requisite play experience in game in NFL stadiums. So what I like, though, is he has that intent, he has that heart and mind to say, you know what? Please underestimate me. Please overlook me. Go and look at 14, look at 18, nothing to see here 19.
Tight end, there's good,
88, he's
that running
there.
Back, you better pay attention to him.
22, And listen, I'm far down the depth chart. Don't worry about it, guys. I'm not option number 1. But the problem is he can give you option number 1 production, and he did that. He almost had 100 yards on 5 plays that he made, 4 catches and then two rushes.
And I think he was the penalty guy too, right?
Yes,
the
he
DPI.
was the one that drew the
so
DPI.
There's 38 hidden yards.
Yeah, so, I mean, he had well over 100 yards of quote-unquote production in this game of the 302 that we had offensively. So Calvin Austin, I love what he presents because I think it gives you that Tyreek Hill type of capability. And you always need – if your slot guy is going to be a little bit undersized, he better have one of 2 things, and you pray for 2 of them. 1 is speed, and 2 is great hands, and he's shown both of those so far in this first preseason.
And I get what you're saying. You're not calling him Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
But he's got as Chuck Nolan once said of a guy named Dwight Stone out here many years ago, beep, beep, speed.
Yes.
The road runner.
Exactly.
Beep, beep. Then it's a
beep, beep.
puff
Boom.
of smoke.
Yeah.
And the coyote's going, where was he?
I know. I had this
I had
Acme
the
rocket
flat. He's
lit
not-
up.
yeah, he's not
I
in
put
the
the little
flat.
magnetic bird seat down. It didn't happen. And that's what Calvin Austin brings. He brings you a different gear that he can always kick in at any moment. And I love to see speed out there, but speed with efficiency. And Calvin Austin was very efficient with how he utilized his speed, a lot like 26, Anthony McFarland, who also displayed his speed as well. So having that speed in there as a changeup guy and not your primary resource gives you a luxury as an offense, and especially for Matt Canada. Now I can scheme more fun things in the game plan and deploy him where I want to, like a chess piece, versus
smile.
having to depend on him. Yeah,
You think that's from Friday? I mean, he's usually pretty upbeat, but
I think it's because, hey, listen, guys, I made it through a preseason game, and I'm not injured. I'm happy to be here, and it felt good to put on the uniform and go against somebody else.
Kenny Pickett was asked what he liked about Calvin Austin III after the game Friday night. He said, I like guys that can run. Pretty concise answer, but pretty good one. And speaking of guys that can run, you referenced a moment ago Anthony McFarland and his touchdown run. Let's take a look at that one now because this play was intriguing to me on a lot of levels, not the least of which was that it got the Steelers into the end zone. See if we can fire up the McFarland touchdown run. Here we go. 2 tight ends and Gunnar Olszewski on the right end there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Max. That play wasn't supposed to go outside. He just took it there.
Yes, no, this play was an inside zone play, ran to the left, and then your first one cut is to the backside. And when you run to the backside, you're looking for daylight. Well, there just happened to be a whole lot of daylight when he bounced it further to the outside. And a great block by Gunnar, great block by Darnell Washington at the point of attack to give Anthony McFarland that freedom, because as you're blocking and then you see it, I love the vision and the patience. And Anthony McFarland says, I got an extra gear too. 19's not the only one out here with some afterburners, and he turned them on real quick and got to the end zone. I mean, unabated. There was no contact at all as he scampered into the end zone. So I thought that was something we've seen in camp. Every single day he seems to abuse some type of DB that thinks that they can come up and tackle him, and he just makes this subtle move, and he's untouched as he makes his way down the sideline. And now you see that translating the game, especially in the rushing game. As you know, that third running back position is wide open. I think the door might be closing for any opposition because I think your top 3 is pretty solidified based off of the play that Anthony McFarland had. And this is good for him. 3rd year in the league. You want to see, you kind of had scholarship years the first 2 years, and now the lights clicked on, and he looks like he is just a guy that's focused on being the best teammate he can be and inserting his speed and athleticism and his quicks whenever he can, and he did that in the game on Friday night.
You know, they've been talking about him for a while now. You mentioned he's been here a while, and he's got that speed, that
4.4,
that change of direction and the acceleration. It's a unique quality among Steelers running backs. And when you have a skill set that nobody else has, there ought to be a way to apply that. Now, Mike Tomlin talked about McFarland recently and said, hey, he came out as a redshirt sophomore, and they knew he was going to have to go in the oven, not the microwave. Paraphrasing again, but, you know, no cliche unturned here on Training Camp Live.
Absolutely.
But I was starting to wonder if it wasn't a Thanksgiving turkey. I mean, it was taking a while.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like a frozen Thanksgiving turkey. You had to let it thaw out before you could even put it in the oven.
But when he did what he did the other night, you know, a little inside baseball information for the fans tuning in at home, the writer's press box in Tampa is in the corner of that end zone. Used to be we're always on the 50-yard line. That's not the case anymore.
The suite's got to go there now, Mike.
Now the suite's got to go. So I'm down in the corner looking at the James Harrison end zone, if you will.
Yes.
And when he made that one cut, I felt like Joe Montana. Like, touchdown. It's over.
Yeah.
And it was. And, boy, that gets you thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty special. When you think about,
I mean, they didn't have to block that up. Like you said, it was supposed to go the other way.
Yeah, supposed to go left.
Now, the edge
inside
was
zone.
sealed. They did a nice job. Gunner
Gunner came
I think
down.
It was Washington and Zach Gentry on that side.
Yes,
which
it
is
was.
a lot of tight end on the one side of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, on the weak side. So it was what we call a weak side inside zone. So meaning it's the open inside where the tackle's the end man on the line of scrimmage, and then you have everybody on the backside. And as Flo goes to the left, the back, as he's making his tight track between the center and left guard, he has a decision. Do I keep with it front side, or do I start to bend it back to the backside A or B gap? But once he got to that B gap on the backside, he saw all that green grass and did another side step and then just turned on the afterburners, and the Jets were flying.
Now, is that something they tell him is the back? That it's, all right, you got option A or option B? They say, we want you to go option A, and, you know, at last resort, go option B. How's his approach mentally executing that play?
You're always thinking front side first unless, right? So you design the play to put all of the pressure front side. So if you're a guy that can, you know, duck and wait, think Le'Veon Bell, right? Le'Veon Bell probably would have kept that front side. He would have never bent it back to that degree. He probably would have went and waited for the backside B gap to probably open up between the tackle and the tight end as they're kind of doing their job.
He might have waited for some things after that.
Yeah, exactly. He might have waited for Gunner to actually clear his face as he stood still. But it's always
maybe get a pizza delivered and, you know, have a slice.
Well, you know, Domino's, right? They got that pinpoint delivery, right?
I'm not criticizing Le'Veon, but he was a very patient runner.
Super patient. Super, I mean, almost like hourglass patient. Yeah. But what it is, you want to stay front side as much as possible to suck up those linebackers, suck up the safety, and then as you're coming, usually make the one cut to come to the backside. But that was all Ant McFarland. I'm going to take it all the way back to the backside D gap where nobody is, and then run to the pylon in the corner of the end zone.
Now, is that similar to a three-point shooter where you're watching the game and you say, no, good shot when it goes in? If he takes it to the house, it was a good decision. But if that doesn't work, are they going to have a talk with him about, hey, follow the blocking, kid? Yeah,
even more so. It would be like coming off of a pick and roll and not driving, but stepping back to almost a half-court circle like Steph Curry style is what I'd equate it to. Because for him to bend it all the way back, you have to trust your speed and know that you're faster than the guys pursuing you. And Anthony McFarland did not look like he was flustered or worried about the opposing defense.
No doubt whatsoever. Now, does that confirm to him? Did he show himself a little something there?
I think he absolutely did. I think he had a really good showing.
You're going to see a guy get some juice from that run now.
I believe so. I believe, especially as we get further into these preseason games where we know, okay, starters are going to play probably a little bit more in this next one coming up against Buffalo. But in that third game, you have to believe 2-6 is going to be the feature in the game again. And can he produce that again so that he gets a hat on game day as a third running back?
One other play I wanted to highlight from that victory over Tampa on Friday night, and that's the other number 26, Quan Alexander, who
hit stick.
First snap of the game, he did not open the game starting on defense. He came in, they went nickel on 3rd and 2. This is Tampa's first possession, and boom, look at it.
Pull the trigger.
Didn't knock him back, but he didn't let him get to the line either. And
he did not get what he needed. He needed 2. He got a begrudging 1, and I'm sure Vaughn felt that.
What we have seen from Quan Alexander, now he was not on the Steelers when training camp started.
No, he was not.
And the Steelers are his fourth team in 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Max, but he does not look like a guy to me playing for his fourth team in 4 seasons. He looks like the guy he was when he was playing in Tampa, coming out of LSU, when he was one of the absolute, for my money, best inside linebackers in the NFL. He only goes about 226, 227. He was kind of in the first wave of those hybrid guys where they were trying to get inside linebackers who could actually cover, and they were more safety-type physical
Bodies,
skill sets.
Like the Dayon Buchanans, right?
Right.
Everybody was looking for that type of guy.
But
back
you're
then.
looking for the guy who could also hold up against the run. Quan Alexander, I think he has announced his presence with authority here, and he did it again Friday night.
Yeah, Quan Alexander's a guy I like to call this a four-word phrase, face in the fan. He's not afraid to put his, as a kid when you're like, whoa, and you'd be making all these sounds with a fan right up in your face. That's Quan Alexander. He's like, no, you're going to hear me. I'm going to make some noise, and you're going to know that my presence is felt. That third down play was just indicative about the reaction time and the willingness to go in there and take on a guy with a lead blocker and make the play. But also later in that game, which I'm still pissed about this, that should not have been a penalty, was that open field tackle on a swing route.
Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I was like, dude, he couldn't have done it any cleaner. The only thing he could have done is give 2 forms of identification, wrapped him in a blanket, asked him out to dinner, and then asked if he's allowed to take him down. Like, I mean, I'm like, what are we doing? That is a football play, and it was completely legal because they missed a lot of other things. But that was one I felt they were wrong, and that was great instincts by Quan Alexander, and he also delivered the boomstick.
Well, just for, to play devil's advocate, or in
Okay.
this case, defensive coordinator advocate, Terrell Austin, the Steelers defensive coordinator, talked with a bunch of us late this morning, and I asked him specifically about that play, and he said he dropped his head. You can't lead with the crown of the helmet. So this is today's NFL. Now, it might not be the game you grew up on. It is clearly
Tell Ryan Clark
it
that.
is clearly not the game I grew up on.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But what I really liked about the play, if that's a penalty, just move your head to the side or do something else.
I felt like he tried
Keep
to.
your face up, whatever you got to do not to
Yeah.
get the flag. But how about the recognition and the explosion to the flat? I mean, this guy does not waste any time.
No, he doesn't.
Terrell Austin said he's quick to key and trigger.
Yeah.
And I have not seen that from a lot of the inside linebackers that have played for the Steelers since Ryan Shazier, which could help explain why Alexander's here and Landon Roberts is here and Cole Holcomb is here and Tanner Muse is here. He wasn't here last year, was he? I mean,
No, he wasn't.
the room is almost completely remodeled, is it not?
Kwiatkowski, right?
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well?
it's just, Mark Robinson, I think, is the only holdover.
Yeah, and he was a rookie.
So that
yeah.
so that tells you the coaches weren't seeing a lot of key and trigger for whatever reason. Now they're seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, Quan Alexander possesses those 3 skills as a linebacker: seek, sift, boom. Right? I mean, you have to seek it out, sift through the mess, and then deliver the hit. And that's exactly what he brings to it. Now, obviously, the reason why 4 teams in 4 years, health has been a little bit of an issue. But I think if you get to the rotational phase in the regular season, you don't put that exposure to him because you're not going to ask him to play the entire time. But that trio right there.
Yeah. And there's Tanner Muse sticking into the shot. And Mark
Stop
Robinson.
trying to get in the action, Tanner. It's not about you right now. But 50, 55, 93, and 26, I expect to be those 4 guys at some form or fashion every single game, depending on the series, depending on the team you're playing, being able to be deployable because all of them possess really specific skills. I think 50 and 93 probably similar as far as their downhill reaction. But I think 50 has a little bit more on the smart side. 93 is only in his 3rd year learning linebacker in general. So he's a little bit behind from that perspective. And then I feel like the athleticism, 55 has the shiftiest of hips. 26 just has the quickest decision and acceleration. So when you have those options, you don't need to have just a quote-unquote Roquan Smith type that needs to play all 3 downs. We have 4 guys that can shoulder that load, and I think it helps for the health throughout the season when you can give guys a break because your second team is just as strong as your first team.
Well, and it's also going to come down to, I mean, Landon Roberts, let's just use him as an example right now. He's the thumper, run stuff guy.
And he's the green dot, too. He was a green dot on
sure?
Friday night. Yeah.
I think it was 55.
Nope. It was 50.
I'm going to have to further review my tape. But
he only got 3 plays because they were out so fast. But then 55 was the next one in with the green dot.
I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
55 is the guy I perceived as the green dot when they acquired him.
Yeah.
And the 3-down guy. And he has perceived himself as that.
Yeah.
And
he was not for the first 3 snaps.
I'm curious to see what 26 can do.
I think 26 has shown himself as a guy who can pull the trigger when necessary. I think that's what we learned, and I think it also helped that he was going against his old team. So you also want to look good when you come back home, right?
You know, even in the preseason, I mean, he was getting up after.
It doesn't matter.
After those
if you
plays,
get dumped by a girl, the next thing you're going to do, if you know you see her, you want to make sure the girl on your arm looks cuter than the one you were with.
5 years later.
Even 5 years later, it doesn't matter. Listen, hey, that's deep rooted. Don't dump me. You know, I was a good guy. You know, and that's what I feel like, a little extra juice in there for 26 to go out there and run around.
You got hurt. You know, you couldn't take her to the prom anymore.
That's okay, but you know, hey, listen, I was in lead running for the prom king. I know I broke my arm.
It's a cold business sometimes.
It is. But I'm glad that 26 was available to be in black and gold instead of the pewter and red or white and. I don't even know what the old creamsicle colors was easy. It was orange, red, and white.
They should go back to the creamsicle full time, but that's not my decision, and that's not why we're here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 3 guys that impressed us. I have my 3. You have you 3. I'll start it off by keeping it with Quan Alexander because, again, Terrell Austin talked about him today. He said, hey, we don't care where a guy's been. What he's done previously. We evaluate players on what they do for us. He said so far what he's doing is very encouraging. I'll say for my expectations going into the Quan Alexander era, he is exceeding so far what I thought he was going to do from an impact standpoint. Now, it's just a bunch of practices, and not even a bunch, some practices and 1 preseason game. But I'm sitting here, might be a little more here than I thought initially.
Yeah, and listen, especially when it's a guy that comes in to camp not on the roster, right? So you think about this is a guy you flew in based off of an injury to get him in here, and he's quickly inserted himself as a guy to be reckoned with.
They had talked about going to the prom in the spring.
Yeah, they did.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But
after homecoming, it was like, hey, you know what, maybe prom time.
Yeah.
Maybe prom will do this.
But now they've gotten around to, going out for cheeseburgers.
Exactly, and a milkshake, at a little diner on a Friday night. It's all good. It's all good.
Your guy.
My guy.
1 of 3.
Well, I'm going to stay on the defense side of the ball since you went defense first. It's going to be number 95, Keanu Benton. That kid showed up huge. Now, he's been up and down in practice. You've wondered, okay, what is he going to do? And there he is right there. He's in his Justice jersey today because nursing an injury, left the field on Friday night. But, man, when he was in there, game wrecker.
He was pushing stuff around, wasn't he?
He threw guys around. He threw around the other rookie, Cody Mauch, on the other side for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, he knifed through the A-gap on a backside and made a play in the backfield that was, veteran-esque. The way that he uses his club and his body, he has great body control to be able to club a guy, clear his hips through, and create movement and almost like a slingshot to get up the field. Him and DeMarvin Leal were absolutely terrorizing that second-string offensive line the entire time they were in there. I want to say that Benton was probably in on about 4 to 5 of tackles that were either at the line of scrimmage or behind it, and he just absolutely put pressure on Kyle Trask from the moment that Kyle Trask got under center. And I thought that was one of my guys I had to highlight. He did a lot and showed a lot and was a game breaker.
Another one of my top 3, Anthony McFarland. We've talked about him extensively. You have Calvin Austin on your list. We've talked about him extensively already today. Our third star.
Yes.
If this was
a shared one,
if this was a hockey game, we both went defense. I'm going with Nick Herbig. Jump around. Number 51 out of Wisconsin.
Yes.
And I recall a conversation we had, some of us had with Broderick Jones recently up here at St. Vincent, and he was asked to assess Nick Herbig, and he said, that bleepity bleeps quick.
Yeah.
And,
man,
coming off that edge like Bucky Badger does, Max.
I mean, he had that tackle. I think, was it Gedeke or Gadecki. I don't know how to pronounce his last
I
name.
think it's Gadecki.
Yeah, he's not on my roster, so I don't care. Yeah, that guy, agent number 67 for the Tampa Bay Bucks, he abused him. He ran around the edge on him. He cut on an inside move when he was trying to allow for the chip block.
Yeah.
And 51 was undeterred. Like, he made a nice little kind of swim over hand movement, but it was all
It's
fluid.
deterred. You played for Coward, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
It's
I did.
deterred.
I know he's deterred.
Yeah.
But my mom and my grandma, just in case they're watching this, I have to
They
say
prefer
deterred.
the
Yeah. They made me read a dictionary, so
King's
I
English,
have
yeah.
to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
not the crafted interpretation.
No. No. We went to Merriam-Webster, not Emmanuel Webster's
Okay.
dictionary on that one.
Yeah.
But I do love the fact that he looked comfortable. He was aggressive. You see the stats right there. That solo tackle on the backside, to be able to cut in between the tight end and the tackle and then just zero in and make the play at the line of scrimmage was phenomenal. The 1.5 sacks, I gave him 2, but I think DeMarvin Leal jumped on top towards the end. But
a little more than that.
yeah. But he pulled Kyle Trask's arm and took him down. Like, Kyle Trask did not shake out of that. And then the other one, he just zeroed in and hit, and it was just a beautiful play. So, Nick Herbig as a kid I thought was only going to play special teams, because if you're the 4th outside linebacker, you need to be able to play team. So I thought we were going to see a lot of him there. And he had a good job in special teams as well. He actually had some nice rundowns. He was one of the first to second guys down from the punt coverage unit. So he did some really nice things, but to add that type of stat line in the limited amount of snaps that he had on the defense side of the ball lets you know he's going to be somebody special.
Your other top 3 guy,
Elijah Riley.
Elijah Riley. Army training, sir.
That's right. West Point trained. So a leader of leaders.
Not new to the team who's here last year.
Well, he got brought in when our entire secondary was decimated for like 2 games.
And he's played some in the league.
Yeah, played in the league a little bit.
But really, he has been in the conversation for that nickel job.
Yeah.
And he just keeps
Keep
making
showing up.
plays out here.
Yeah, he made
and
some
in
plays,
the game.
chased down from behind on a couple of plays in the run game against them.
First
and playing in
tackler down the
support.
field on a punt.
Yeah,
Even he's the
first one down.
personal protector. So
playing PP, so he has that release angle, which usually
but
you're giving up
had
5
to,
yards.
Had to go further quicker.
Yeah, and he made sure that he picked his lanes and was unabated. In a lot of those, made a nice 90-degree turn and wrap tackle on the seam, or I should say on the hashes in that punt coverage. I loved a couple of the tackles he had in run support coming off the edge and really setting the edge and then making the play. So Elijah Riley has shown that he is very versatile. Guy that can play safety, nickel corner, also be a core 4 special teams guy. I thought he had a really nice game and really made himself stand out, especially with that slot conversation and the slot battle that's going on. You lose Duke Dawson in the game. Chandon Sullivan was in the rotation for that as well. And I felt like he kind of stood out as far as when you think about the secondary guys competing there. I felt like he's a frontline guy.
And, it's a position where you need depth just like any other position in the secondary. You can never have enough cornerbacks. Oh, by the way, you can never have enough that can play that slot for you.
Yeah.
And you might want different guys for different slot opportunities. As long as they're contributing on teams, why not, right?
Yeah, and Terrell Austin said this. He's like, I need 3 corners to have 2. Because he knows injuries and attrition is going to be a natural part of this game. And so you want as many available dudes that can play those type of positions and really give you some game day flexibility. Because it might not always be, hey, you're going in the nickel slot, 3rd series of the game. In this thing, it's like, hey, guy went down. I need you to jump in. 37 has the intelligence and the smarts to be able to adapt at a lot of different positions. Now, I'm not going to put him out on an island at corner, but if I can get him into some zone situations to put him in the nickel slot or get him into the safety where he has some drop coverage responsibilities, I think he has that flexibility to do all that. And like I said, still play all core 4 special teams.
You got to have the football IQ. You got to have the 40 time. You got to have the prerequisite strength and
You got to
physical
have
abilities.
just
But
get it done.
if you have that,
yeah,
and you're a West Point guy,
total package.
you got a little something on the ball.
Yeah. Total package. You're ahead of this.
You're not going to wilt. You're not going to shy away from.
You're not going to run
work.
away. You're not going to run away from the fire. You're going to run to it.
You're going to be assignment sound.
Yes.
You're going to play with great effort.
And diagnosis, of the play and reaction to the play is going to be that much quicker.
So there's our top three, and there could probably be more from that game, but three's a nice round number.
I think
again,
three gives us a start for the first preseason game, right?
The three-star concept. Before we get out of here, what's the next step? Got to play some ones now. Got to have the guys that we saw do well go against some ones.
Yeah.
What's your first take on what you're looking for?
I want to see
the Buffalo game.
I want to see ones going up against that Buffalo Bills offense. I want to see them stuff the run. I want to see them put pressure on Josh Allen's crew on that side of the ball. I don't know who's going to play for their team, but I want to see what 97, 99, 90, and 56, and then I would give 95 a run with the ones just to see how he handles it.
Assuming he's
healthy
sooner rather than later.
I'm hoping he's back. I think it's favorable that he's actually out there in a shirt. That gives you a little bit of hope. And then also I want to see 24.
Yeah, I think we saw him far back there on that last shot. It looks like he's in pads today. I was unfortunate that he was unable to go Friday night because he needs all the reps he can get. But
he does.
It happened. Now there's two more opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to this offense. They didn't really run the ball a lot in that first preseason game, but I really expect to see a nice rush game because you saw the air efficiency. So now it's time to get the coordination of the run and pound approach. And I think that offensive line, the way that they controlled things in that first drive, I would love to see them actually go out and start mauling some guys.
There you go. 24's back in the black and gold. He's got the helmet on, not the floppy hat. Pretty good camp so far, but he needs to get in the game. That would be my priority. And then just from a personal preference standpoint, when I see that one-on-one single coverage, keep taking those shots.
Take the shots.
Stay aggressive, and then go from there. That's going to do it for us for Training Camp Live. But I want to remind everybody that the wrap-up show will be coming up immediately. Well, not quite immediately, but soon after today's practice ends here at St. Vincent College. I'll be joined by Craig Wolfley for that. So please find us again at the appropriate time this afternoon. Until then, for Max Starks, I'm Mike Pursuta. This has been Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx.